Thank you very much, ASG. Now I give the floor to Leonard Mizzi, who has already been kind of introduced as our main interlocutor at the European Commission on the development side. But it's always a pleasure to have Leonard Mizzi, who will be also the chair of Panel 1 with us. Not only is that now Europeaid, DEVCO is, as you know, the European Commission is the leading donor in the world, especially for developing countries and for the ACP countries that are at the core of CTA and partners' work. But also, previously, he was at DG Agri, also in charge of the EU markets, and for the food coming from ACP countries and beyond. So with that background and some of his previous academic and private sector, is always a pleasure to have you. Thank you very much. I know you are also very busy, and you came last night from mission, so it's even more appreciated that you can spend some time with us in a topic that I know is very, very important to you. Thank you, Mr. Mizzi.
Thank you, Zolina, and thanks, Vivanu, and good morning, everyone. It's, as always, a pleasure to be in the CTA briefings and see a lot of colleagues and experts around the table. And food safety is becoming increasingly, as Vivanu said, a very important topic. Elizabeth will speak because we have just a few days ago returned from Kigali, and the Eastern African community, amongst other communities, food safety, SPS issues is a very important topic, and what I will do in my introductory is to outline what we are doing and why this topic is important. I just give you a bit of headline figures from WHO. This is a topic which is quite cross-cutting it, and Michael from DG Sante will also give the DG Sante dimension, but there are trade implications, agriculture implications, health implications, public health. Some headline figures. 1 in 10 fall ill after eating contaminated food. Children under 5, 40% of all foodborne diseases, the burden is on this age bracket. Unsafe food has major implications on diseases, on malnutrition, on public health budgets. Unsafe food also has implications for around 200 types of diseases, and clearly tackling food safety is key to sustain life and promote good health. So I'll just give a bit of overview of what we, as European Commission, have been doing in the last 15 years. We have supported, and I see colleague ACP here, which is our main entry point since. So we have had the program initiative Pesticides Phase 1, known as PIP1, where we gave 30 million. This is intra-ACP funds, 2001-2009, and PIP2, 32.5 million, 2009-2015. EDES, strengthening food safety systems through SPS measures in ACP countries, 30 million, 2010-2015. And the most recent is Fit for Market, 20 million, 2016-2021, plus the Standards and Trade Development Facility, 5 million, 2010-2020. Just to give an example, PIP1 and PIP2, which have been managed by colleague ACP, supported certification of fruit and vegetables in more than 30 ACP countries, mainly through Global Gap, Fair Trade, and Organic. This initiative has also funded the registration of pesticides for minor uses, mainly through obtaining EU import tolerances. EDES has been implemented by a consortium of 8 European institutions and also led by colleague ACP, and supported the implementation of food safety systems, including labs at national level in more than 20 ACP countries. The Fit for Market initiative, which we will also discuss today, also implemented by colleague ACP, is a continuation of the PIP program, and in this framework, it will continue to support certification of fruits and vegetable products as well as pesticides. And this comes also from a report which the EU ACP Parliamentary Assembly looked at on SPS issues a few weeks ago. It was a joint report to look at SPS, pesticides, illegal use of pesticides and inputs in the value chain. So this is very high also on the Joint Parliamentary Assembly. So beyond these tools, we have also budget support. For example, when we visited Rwanda, we give budget support, for example, to the Rwandan Agriculture Board, where they have lab and lab facilities. Vivanu mentioned the primordial focus now on the continental free trade area. Yes, traditionally it has been an export orientation vision. Now it's important to look at SPS from a local and regional trade dimension. And there are significant problems still in intra-regional trade and barriers amongst regional configurations. And that's why we have been discussing also on the margins of the AGRF forum with the Eastern African community what type of support, technical and expertise is required in one of the regions which is technically the most integrated in the African subcontinent. Something which also you need to look at to profile what the European Union and member states are doing is the annual report on aid for trade. The last one was published on the 13th of November. All this we can give you references and cross-references because I think you will have a bit of idea of what the European Union is doing. With more and more importance, I just came from the International Coffee Organization where increasingly even impact investors are looking into social and environmental sustainability systems in investment of value chains, more stakeholder engagement, and more dialogue with the private sector. So that is also another entry point is to support farmers' organizations to get their systems better in place, and supporting vertical integration is also a way forward. Multi-stakeholder approaches in food safety systems involving farmers' organizations, involving the private sector, involving civil society organizations, and last but not least, local authorities. Something which I don't know whether we will tackle it, but it's also becoming more and more vocal in these seminars and conferences is the issue of blockchains. So blockchain in food safety systems, this is becoming trendy. So it would be good to hear from those who are close to this area how blockchain, how technology, how ICT can actually help better food safety systems. One of the best or most referenced alliances is a blockchain which involved, I understand, China. It's an IBM Walmart blockchain, which the Chinese food safety systems have introduced a few months ago. Also, the issue of merger and acquisition activity by Chinese corporates, either of European companies or American companies, to actually guarantee food safety systems. This is also a dynamic of the last years, where we see positioning of Chinese companies to actually tap into expertise either of the US or the EU to actually have food safety systems which are sort of recognized and of the highest quality possible. So we tend, and rightly so, Isolina mentioned a number of initiatives, but sometimes food safety falls into the cracks of analysis. We speak a lot about higher political issues, but this is a key issue, and we can't not look at it into a systemic way, both through investment and the type of value chains we are trying to build, not least to the external investment plan, but also through research. So there is a strong research component, and as you know, as possibly those who are close to what we are doing, our portfolio on agricultural research for development, we are also trying to build up a strong research portfolio which directly or indirectly also looks into food safety issues, whether we speak about pests and diseases or whether we give support to labs, extension services to actually tackle food safety related issues. So without further ado, I would like to encourage you to engage into these proceedings, and as usual, we look forward for CTA's compilation of these proceedings, which we will diffuse together across all Commission services, because it's not just Sante or DEVCO or Agri or Trade, but even our delegations on the ground are really interested and tackle these issues on a daily basis. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mizzi. There are areas as the ones you mentioned on blockchain that we would talk about, not that much on detail, because we had planned in the list of briefings to have specific ones on that. It's a key part of the food safety and other parts. We have included, we just have, you can help yourselves, an ICT update last issue from a CTA, which is specifically on blockchain. We have copies here with relevant examples in Africa and, of course, in ACP countries. As Vivian has said, we talk about Africa, but always with the lessons learned for the ACP in the ACP context.